On April 14, 1912, the Titanic sank after colliding with an iceberg. It was the deadliest sinking in modern shipping history, taking the lives of more than 1,500 people. Among those aboard the ill-fated ship were some of the wealthiest people of the time. But when faced with mortal danger, they did something that surprised everyone. They gave up their places on the lifeboats to save the lives of others. So why did the richest man on the Titanic choose to die? John Jacob Astor IV was one of the richest men of his time. When the Titanic sank, he had more than $30 million in his bank account, which is more than $860 million today. But despite having the means to build 30 Titans, he chose to give up his place in a boat and instead save 2 terrified children. A lifeboat was scheduled for the same day the Titanic sank, but due to unknown reasons, it was canceled. That lifeboat was the only one that could have saved many of the passengers and crew, including Astor. There was another lifeboat scheduled for the next day, but by then it would be too late. When the captain of the nearby ship saw the Titanic's flares, he assumed they were fireworks. He only realized the next morning that they were SOS signals. By then, the Titanic had sunk, and the lifeboat was canceled. All this might have been avoided if John Jacob Astor had accepted a place on that first lifeboat. After all, no one would have blamed him for wanting to save himself, but he didn't. Instead, he gave up his place and made sure 2 terrified children got on the boat instead. He might have done this because he didn't think he deserved to be saved. Unlike other rich people on the Titanic, Astor didn't earn his money through exploitation. He invested in companies that produced useful products and improved people's lives. He also donated large sums of money to various charities. But there's another reason why he might have given up his place on the lifeboat. In a letter to his son, Astor wrote that he would never abandon a human being if he could help it. Perhaps his decision to sacrifice himself was motivated by his deep sense of humanity. Whatever his reasons, his actions were an example to everyone around him, even the captain of the lifeboat, who had put out to sea that night to try and save as many people as possible, admitted that he couldn't understand why Astor had chosen to stay behind. Astor wasn't the only wealthy person who gave up their chance of survival to help others. Millionaire Isidor Straus, owner of America's largest chain, Macy's, also refused to board a boat. He was traveling with his wife, Ida Straus, who had just had an operation and was still recovering. When the ship's captain, Edward Smith, came to their suite to offer them a place on a lifeboat, Isidor said, "I will never get into a boat before anyone else." Mrs. Straus, who was lying in bed, didn't even bother to get up. Instead, she told the captain, "Tell Mr. Astor, I am not leaving him." The couple's decision to stay on the ship was surprising to many, especially since they had the money to build several boats themselves. But they didn't budge. In fact, Mrs. Straus actually made room for another passenger on the lifeboat. She asked her newly appointed maid, Ellen Bird, to take her place. Bird refused at first, but Mrs. Straus insisted, saying she'd be happier knowing her maid would survive. These wealthy people chose to part with their wealth, and even their lives, rather than compromise their moral principles. They didn't let their money or status blind them to what was right, and that makes us so grateful to have them as role models. What do you think? Why do you think these rich people chose to die on the Titanic? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more such amazing stories. Thank you for watching.